Blade Runner is an exceptional masterpiece. Often, sci-fi films tend to fall into the trap of catering mainly for the concept. However, Blade Runner is made of several layers, including thought-provoking themes such as the exploration of the search of the distinctively human. However, the focus of this video is the aesthetic of the film, which is a fusion of set design, wardrobe design, lighting, the score, and the soundtrack. Together, these elements help strengthen the delivery of the core theme. We are introduced to a futuristic world by means of the subtle retro and synth sounds, which send a shiver up our spines. The wide shot leaves our minds to wonder. We notice the glimmering lights among the explosive pollution. We are suddenly prepared to be taken into a world of immorality and chaos, which is disguised by the lit environment. We witness the alluring city light through the character's eye. Notice how the reflection of the scenery is surrounded by red lines, which often occurs when blood vessels dilate due to tiredness. The character's pain is brought to the foreground, pointing out the significant torture this world has inflicted. Our eyes catch a glimpse of a distant building. Suddenly, we skip past the polluted environment. As the character's spaceship approaches the building, we can't help but marvel at the precise and ultra-modern design, which hints at a certain elegance. This possibly is where the upper class reside or work. Again, the extreme close-up shot. This time, a great fire reflects onto the character's eye. Although this may be a breathtaking visual for us, it certainly is a mentally suffocating visual for the character. The inside of the building is rather a contrast with more dull and cooler colors, a visual representation of the corrupt and inhumane system. And the fact that this character, Holden, is smoking indoors further solidifies this point. He is about to perform a test on Leon to determine if he is a replicant, which, if he is, will result in his termination. This clearly is a confusing and terrifying moment for Leon, and the high exposure in the top right of the frame helps us resonate with Leon. The almost vacant set hints at an unpleasant moment. Personally, I love the props in the film. Considering this film was only made in the late 90s, the props are of a futuristic design. Interestingly, they still maintain a taint of a vintage look. We see Rick, the main character, for the first time. We get a closer look at the city. The neon lights are a pleasing sight, but we can't help but focus on the crowded surroundings. The extras are dressed up in cheap and colorless clothing. This helps clarify the contrast between the lower class and the upper class, eliminating the middle class, which confirms the presence of a capitalistic organization. Rick, who is a former Blade Runner, is forced to return to the field, and he is given a task to eliminate 4 escaped replicants.
They jumped the shuttle off world, killed the crew and passengers. We found the shuttle drifting off the coast 2 weeks ago, so we know they're around.
Before starting the job, Rick heads over to the Tyrell Corporation in an attempt to figure out why the replicants wanted to infiltrate the company. The answer may lie with Tyrell's failsafe backup mechanism, but Rick faces a dilemma when he discovers a 5th replicant, Rachel.
Must be expensive.
Very. I'm Rachel.
Deckard.
Rick, being a Blade Runner, has always had a negative outlook when it comes to replicants, considering them to be impulsive and instinctive. However, note how the change in the score suggests a minor change of heart.
Sure.
The score is dramatically cinematic, with subtle synths that hint at the attraction Rick is about to experience. The natural light from the sun shadows the warmer feeling that is about to creep into Rick's heart. Later, the light source is slightly reduced to create a dim surrounding. Usually, this would be used in a scene to highlight sadness or terror. But in this situation, it helps drift the focus from the majestic set, enclosing Rachel and Rick, displaying a connection between the characters. To add to what I said earlier, the set designer's choices are what intrigue me the most. The perfect blend of a futuristic and vintage design of the elements on set is a representation of the conflict between the emptiness and fulfillment in Rick's heart. A desperate search for something that makes him feel human again. Rachel's wardrobe was carefully thought out. Notice how the other female characters in the city are dressed up in glittery, vibrant, and revealing wear, as well as the edgy hairstyles, versus Rachel, who dresses in elegant wear, the stereotypical good girl fashion, as well as the long hair and simple, non-abstract makeup. The designer possibly wanted to display the character's innocence, purity, and genuineness, all qualities that make her appealing to the traditional nature of a male character and to a modest society. Rachel falls in love with Rick. Notice how the dragged out, soothing synths and piano keys from the score suggest this. Interestingly, although Rick feels the same about Rachel, his feelings are at war, as his biased outlook on replicants bumps heads with his love for a particular replicant. Again, the creeping in light within the dark setting portrays this feeling effectively. An event causes a complete change of heart, which helps extend his reasonableness to the other replicants after a replicant saves his life. There is a drastic change in the synth sounds. They are less piercing and much more calming.
Time. Like tears in rain. Time to die.
Altogether, these elements effectively convey the theme of the desire for connection in an inhumane society.